Hoist the mainsails. Scuttle the jib. And swab the poop deck. Let's begin. Welcome, everybody. And gather on the main deck. Stay away from the poop deck. And welcome to the second episode of, hopefully, a long-running series called Rogue Advice. A D&D, TTRPG, sports and everything podcast, specifically designed for us nerds. Originally started as Bard Advice, we pay homage and tribute, that'd be treasure, to the Bard Yazik for allowing us to spin off on our own. On this podcast, we will try to follow the same format as Bard Advice, where you, the viewers, send in your questions to @roguebardadvice@gmail.com. And then I, the Pirate Archaeologist, will try to answer them. Taking from the Bard, I didn't do this the last episode because it was the first episode, but I would like to take this time to welcome all of our regulars and welcome in any new individuals joining for their first stream. And we would like to remind everyone to please like, comment, subscribe, and turn on those notifications. Rate the podcast. I don't have any merch yet, mainly because I don't know what to do for merch. If you have any ideas for merch, please let me know through the email. Also, this YouTube channel is not currently big enough to have sponsors or tips and donations. However, if you would like to contribute to the growth of the channel, you could do so at PayPal, Cashapp, and Venmo. All of the links are in the description in the below the chat. Then, also, if you haven't already, please join the Discord. If somebody in the chat would throw up the Discord, River's already done that. Thank you, River. It is the same Discord as Bard Advice. And who knows? Maybe you'll see the Bard himself in the Discord. He's like an elusive leprechaun. Leprechaun? Bardicon. There it is. Now, while we don't have sponsors yet for the show, and I'm not getting any proceeds from this next bit, it's not an endorsement. I mean, it could be, but I'm not getting paid for this endorsement. I wanted to take this time to share a bit about what I'm drinking tonight. This is my Treasured Realms coffee from Many Worlds Tavern that I've just opened. Now, I bought this coffee back in May of 23. Haven't opened it. I thought since I'm starting the new Rogue Advice, I might as well enjoy some homebrew. This Treasured Realms coffee was part of a limited monthly batch from May of 23, and it came with these. Came with a Treasured Realms card talking about the coffee itself, a tropical bastion surrounded by the natural reserve Cerrero Dantali El Diablo near the Lago de Apenne, Fine la Bestilia. It is a paradise for fawns and flora, founded on deep, favorable volcanic soils. It also came with, of course, for the dice goblins, it came with a set of dice. Ron, let's see what's happening in chat. If it's not Ron, I question your pirate credit. Hey, pirates drink coffee too. It came with a sticker, also for Bastille. And it came with a magical item. Now, this magical item is pretty cool. It's called the Helm of Queen Catherine. Wondrous item, very rare, requires attunement by a sorcerer or a wizard. Now, I'll go ahead and throw this up in the Discord later, and its stats so you guys can check it out. But I wanted to taste this in front of everybody and see what we're working with. So I brewed quite a bit of it. Now, I didn't get the already ground coffee. I got the coffee beans, which will last longer than ground coffee. So let's see what we got. And yes, Kirk, or Ron, you could question, but I don't know if YouTube will allow me to drink rum on the podcast yet. So until I figure that out, we're going to be drinking coffee. It is a medium dark roast, which by all accounts, I prefer a darker roast, but it's not bad. If Many Worlds Tavern is watching the stream live or after it's posted, I would love to be the spokesperson for your brand, guys. So let's begin. So this week we have a couple of things going on. We're going to have an art corner featuring a couple things, followed by a charitable update. Archaeology corners on the table, followed by some questions, including a follow-up from our very first question. And then we can move into chat. Yes, we can discuss basketball and the NFL playoffs. And for our Canadian viewers, we can even discuss hockey. With that being said, and without any further ado, let's begin our adventure. Starting with Art Corner. I wanted to take this time to plug the movie Better Man. Better Man, if you guys haven't heard of it, it came out in limited audience theaters last year, December 25th. In the United States, it was released earlier in the year to worldwide audiences. But Better Man tells the true life story of the singer Robbie Williams. If you guys don't know who Robbie Williams is, back in '98, the only song really I know him from, he did the song Millennium. But it tells the story of his life from childhood till present and the overcomings that he has, that he was fighting with, mental health issues, suicide, drug addiction, stuff like that. But it's told in a weird way. It's a musical, so if you guys like musicals, it's a great movie. But it's told in a way, Robbie's character is an anthropomorphic chimpanzee. And and they chose that because that's how Robbie Williams saw himself. Not as a chimpanzee, but as somebody less evolved than most people, or than the rest of the people he grew up with, or the rest of the world. The second thing I wanted to showcase is Boston Legal. Now, I know I talked about Boston Legal last week, and I just thought I'd throw it in here. We all know Boston Legal follows the exploits of Alan Shore and Denny Crane and Candice Bergen's character. But this show, in its day, it received 26 Primetime Emmys, Outstanding Drama Series in 2007 and 2008, and a Peabody in 2005. That is nothing. That is no joke. That was a great series, and I'm glad I rewatched it, and I'm hoping somebody else would pick it up too. Yeah, Better Man only made $100K in the United States. That was back on the 25th of December, Chris. Its main release was today, but I saw it Monday through Regal Cinemas Mystery Movie Monday, so I got to actually see it early. But hopefully with them fully releasing it today, it'll make more. Though I don't know how well musicals do in the theaters. Let's just hope this one goes well. Let's see what people are saying. River watched it with Abigail earlier today. He says it's a pretty good movie. Ruby watched it on Christmas Day. Loved that movie. Yes. Puffy Cheeto, loved Boston Legal. Haven't rewatched it in a long time. Dan Stevens is awesome. He was fantastic in The Guest. Oh, and Better Man is from the same production company or the same producer who produced The Greatest Showman. So, if you liked The Greatest Showman, then you ought to like then you ought to like Better Man. Guinness Fonio Stout. Fonio is an ancient West African grain. Tastes like Guinness to me. Kirk, I love Guinness. I love a Guinness draw. The stout's a little too stout for me, but I can deal with it. Wicked blew up the box office. I think it's going to be a hard sell with this limited frame, and that's true, Chris. That's what they're going up against. They're going and movies like this shouldn't go up against movies like that, and it's only because they will lose in the theater all the time. Kirk, if you ever get a chance, I know you like the Fonio Stout, but if you ever get a chance, try the Guinness Antwerpen. It's a Belgian-made Guinness, named after Antwerp, and it's got a hint of chocolate to it. Phenomenal. Moving on. So as we all know, there are wildfires going on in California right now, in Los Angeles. And Puffy Cheeto put up something in the Discord, pray for California blurb. I want to take this time right now to go into these updates real quick. If you want to find out where to go to donate, we have some options here. Los Angeles continues to deal with some of the most destructive wildfires in its history, as thousands of people have lost their homes and other structures have been wiped out, leaving those thousands of people, about 180,000 people, without homes or businesses. They're all under evacuation orders. The fire, as of 2 days ago, had consumed 45 square miles, roughly the size of San Francisco. But if you so want, you can donate to the American Red Cross at www.redcross.org, or their phone number, or you could text Red Cross to 90999 to make a $10 donation. If you want to go other ways, you can help donate to the LAFD Foundation Emergency Fund. Funds from the LAFD Emergency Fund go to equipment to support firefighters on the front lines, such as emergency fire shelters, hydration packs, and woodland brush tools. Now, all of these links that I'm putting up here will be, if not already are, in the bottom of the Discord, or the bottom of the stream. I will also be putting these in the Discord. For those of us who have fur babies and who love our furry family members, you can donate to the Pasadena Humane Society or the Sacramento SPCA. The shelter has taken in hundreds of animals during the fires as shelters, including the SPCA in Sacramento, and have sent resources and teams to assist the displaced animals. You can donate here at PasadenaHumane.org. Give/donate. You can donate to the Southern California Salvation Army. Not much to say about it. It's the Salvation Army. All these funds go to where they need to go and help the people they need to help. You can donate to CAL FIRE, the California Fire Foundation. The California Fire Foundation is working with local fire agencies and community-based organizations to provide direct financial support to impacted residents as details of the damage emerge. Your donation to the CFF Wildfire and Disaster Relief Fund directly supports victims of wildfires and disasters through California. You can donate to Convoy of Hope. And finally, you can donate to the California Community Foundation. All of these places will get your donations and your support to the individuals affected. It's something we can do as a nation, as a country. It's always something we can strive to do. Help our neighbors out. So if we can help our neighbors out by getting this information out there, then more people will get the help that they need. Let's see what's going on in chat. Hearts to California. Best wishes to all who may have friends and family there. I saw someone was arrested in connection to the fires. Didn't get to read the article yet. Not sure how accurate this information is. Okay, I have a little bit of information for that. I think one of the two fires, I don't believe it's the Palisades fire. I think it's the other fire. Starts with an E. I think that one they found out that it was caused by arson. But I can find out more for that, and I'll post that into Discord. Yeah, James says they arrested one person who apparently set at least one fire. I will put it onto Discord, Kirk. That is definitely something I will be doing. But all of that leads us into tonight's Archaeology Corner. The Eaton fire, yes. The Eaton, I believe it was the Eaton fire that they arrested the individual on suspected arson. But all of this leads us into tonight's Archaeology Corner. Now, tonight's Archaeology Corner has to do with the discussion of what happens when historic structures are lost during a natural disaster. This is another thing archaeologists like myself do. We perform disaster relief in areas. We perform historic preservation. It's not all about digging holes and searching for treasure. But tonight we're going to discuss the loss of the Will Rogers Historic Ranch House and the stables at the Will Rogers State Historic Park. Now, most people would say, why don't you just rebuild it? And we could. And typically you do in some situations. However, there are key points that should be adhered to and recognized. The first is, while the building is reconstructed and the outside of the structure looks like the original, it's merely a copy. All historical significance to this structure has been lost and can never be regained. So the new building is just like a memory of what something used to be. Here are some more key points. The documentation of this building is crucial. Extensive historical research is necessary to accurately replicate the building's original design, using materials and features, including detailed drawings, photographs, and even material analysis if available. Has to be distinguished from the new, distinguished from the old. Now, what that means is when reconstructing, clear visual indicators must be used to differentiate the new structure from the original, such as signage explaining that the building is a reconstruction. Focus on the exterior appearance. While the interior may need to be adapted to modern codes and functionality, the exterior should closely resemble the historic building's appearance. That's damn good coffee. What that means is, while the outside of the buildings, the stables, and the historic homestead will look the same, all of the interior features will be modernized and brought up to the code of today. The original buildings, these original structures, were originally built in 1920. So nothing was done to them to modernize the interiors until this fire happens. Material selection. Replicating the original building materials is ideal, but if not feasible, materials with similar aesthetic qualities and appropriate historic compatibility should be used. Now, while we can't get wood from a 1920s tree, we would get wood to build these structures from similar trees that that maintain that aesthetic appearance. You got to follow all the local regulations. Local historic preservation commissions will usually have additional rules and guidelines regarding the reconstruction of the historic buildings, often requiring their approval for any major restoration work. The important aspects of the Secretary of Interior standards for historic preservation. Then, maintaining the preservation, which is maintaining the building in its current state with minimal intervention. Do we really want to maintain the burnt down husks of the building? I think not. I think they're going to rebuild these buildings. Then you have rehabilitation, which is making repairs and alterations while preserving the building's historic characters. There's no repairs or alterations. It's a complete reconstruction. Returning a building at restoration, returning a building to a specific period in its history by removing later additions. Then reconstruction, replicating a building that no longer exists using historical documentation as a guide. And that's where we're going to be at when we rebuild this structure. Okay, so here's what's going on the Discord. Chris is mentioning, as of 2 hours ago, the 4 fires are at 36,830 acres or 57 square miles. Thank you. Slightly larger than Chula Vista. Thank you for that. Kirk's 2-wire electric, where there is electric at all, I'm guessing. Probably. James, could you get similar wood from another structure that was of similar age? Depends. Would you tear down a structure that may have historic significance also just to rebuild another structure? No. But if that structure doesn't have any historical or cultural significance or value, then possibly. But you're also looking at that wood is also 104 years old. So the structural quality of that wood may not be the best to use for a new construction. With that being said, let's move on to some questions. Our first question is our follow-up question from Chris. Hey, yo. I just got around to watching the pod. In regards to what I mean by hybrids, those are races such as half-elf, half-orc, and dragonborn in the 2014 version. So officially, there are only full or half races, which is what I meant by the no mutt races, 3 or more species. This would imply that hybrid races are sterile. No, not that one. That one. Even though 2024 got rid of the official half-race species, they can still be made legally by taking the traits of one parent and the elements of physical appearance from the other. Though officially, they still only speak of if being 2 species. But it doesn't disallow it either. Honestly, a character that, due to just being born of generations of hybrid couples until they have a piece of every species, would be funny. Yes. However, I have written some things about this, and it took me quite a bit of time to come up with this, so bear with me. Plus, building from pre-cut scraps makes it for difficult building. Yes. My first D&D characters about 1976 when I was 14 were always looking for a good dark beer. It's a thing for me to continue their search. Perfect. I think you'll like the Antwerpen. I really do. But back to the answer. So, Chris, in most fictional narratives, and even in real biology, half species, offsprings of two distinct species are typically considered sterile due to chromosomal incompatibility, meaning they cannot produce viable offspring themselves. However, this is not always the case, depending on the specific fictional world or biological situation involved. In fact, in the world created by Tolkien, half-elven are the children of the union of elves and men. Half-elven are not a distinct race per se. Rather, they are fertile offspring as the result of a union between elves and men. In the works of Tolkien, there were 4 recorded unions of Eldar, the elves, and the Edain, the noble race of men. So to answer your question more in-depthly, I would say that if you are following the strictest rules of hybrid species, such as the liger, the mule, and the zebroids, then yes, a race of half whatever would be sterile. However, if you were to follow Tolkien's rules, then half-elves would not be sterile, and therefore you could have a half-elf mate with a full whatever, whether it be orc, Aarakocra, dwarven folk, etc., and the offspring not be sterile. However, that would only work if starting with a half-elf base. Then their offspring would have to mate with a full something or other, etc., on down the line. So it would take many, many, many generations to get one individual who is a mix of every species. Think of it like Aang from The Last Airbender. It would be a lonely existence for that individual because he, she, they, them would be the only one. No shared history, no shared customs, culture, traditions. Question for you, would they be looked down upon by their full-blooded kin for being this amalgamation of species? As a DM, I would allow an individual to play such a species, however with certain modifications. Say you are part Aarakocra and were born with wings. I would say they would be the size of like pigeon wings, and they wouldn't be able to produce enough lift to give the individual fly speed. And from your dwarven ancestry, you would have a full beard and long hair, directly contradicting your elven heritage. But you're tall, with the elvish pointed ears. But then your skin would also be a shade of whatever from your orc heritage. And your eyes would be red from your drow heritage. And that's just an example of the physical traits you could mess with. There would be a lot of dice rolling in my opinion, but I think sitting down with the person wanting to play this character would have to be done before a day 1 session. That's what I have to say about that. Let's see what chat has to say. Did I lose the chat? I don't know. Where did everybody go? I see the chat. And I'm still live. There's River. Yeah, this is the kind of character that you'd sit down with your DM for a few hours and roll it out. And I think that's before a day 1 session. You have to get this character locked in before. I'm sorry, Ron. I'm sorry. You guys type it out. I will drink some of this glorious and delicious Treasure Roam coffee. And let's see what you guys have to say. No, River, take care of the wife. You're fine. Thought. From Kirk. My mother claimed we had Native American blood. When she died, I asked my aunt, who has more knowledge of our family history, who said there was no truth to that. So if what your character only thinks... So what if your character only thinks they are half-blood? That's an interesting thought. That'd have to be more thought on that, Kirk. But to your other thing, a lot of families would claim that, and that's something I found out while working for the BIA. A lot of families claimed they had Native American blood and didn't, but there are only so much that people can do. There are certain Native American tribes that only require a portion of blood quotient, 1/4%, half, 4%, stuff like that. There are also tribes who you don't need any blood quotient in. So take that for a little bit of interesting knowledge. For the every blood character, could there be a reason someone, what's this, special magic or abilities? Could be. River would also would 100% allow a player to do this. The combinations we could come up with would be hilarious. Exactly. The plot of Elf, a human raised as an elf and thinks he is one. Yes. James, you can imagine River playing what, allowing the 100%? Yep. And the more diluted the DNA gets through those tests, Puffy, is it's hard. So the OG D&D races were obviously inspired by LOTR. People wanted to emulate those heroes. Now there are so many other sources to draw from or homebrew. Exactly. Yes. All right. Chris, I think you have an answer somewhere in there. I think I gave an in-depth answer, but I'm pretty sure you already figured something out. We'll have more to discuss on this next week, as Chris had sent me a follow-up to this question already. So, moving on, the next question is from River. What is my favorite rogue archetype? Well, River, unfortunately, as I've not really played outside of 3.5, I didn't really understand the difference between prestige classes and archetype. However, if having to choose one, I would have to go with the swashbuckler archetype, with a dread pirate prestige class. Maybe throw in a bit of the gunslinger archetype for the campaigns that allow pistols, and toss in a bit of the assassin archetype for good measure. I mean, when you think about it, I've either created Han Solo, Boba Fett, Jack Sparrow, Raymond Reddington, or the Dread Pirate Roberts. Either way, does it really matter what archetype a rogue is? Honestly, you play a rogue to do some not so good things, like thievery. What I want to create is that lawful good rogue. Why? My favorite saying, my favorite quote from Ray Reddington. There is no honor among thieves. You know that saying? I despise that saying. Because the fact is, in this life of ours, there are lines that even criminals should not cross. A standard of conduct, even for those who earn their livelihood by breaking the law. Do I use my leverage with the city guards and even the navies of the world to hold those who violate that standard accountable? Yes, I do. Those individuals have forfeited the right to operate freely, and every single one of them is lucky they are held to account by others instead of being held to account by me. Will I do some bad things? Yes. Will I ever cross a line? I typically don't, unless I'm playing a strictly chaotic evil character. But I tend to play on the good side. Chaotic good is where I normally reside. I just think playing a lawful good rogue would be interesting. Hell, I might even become best friends with the paladin. Who knows? I did put together a list of prestige classes and archetypes, and maybe the chat could create their own rogue. So, from 3.5, we have the prestige classes, and I got these from the Song and Silence, the guidebook to Bards and Rogues, which Bards and Rogues can do all of these. But from 3.5, you have the Dread Pirate, the Dungeon Delver, the Fang of Lolth, the Outlaw of the Crimson Road, the Royal Explorer, a Spy Master, a Temple Raider of Aldemara, a Thief Acrobat, a Vigilante, and a Virtuoso. Now from 5e, you have, from Xanthar's Guide to Everything, you have the Mastermind, the Inquisitive, the Scout, and the Swashbuckler. From the D&D Player's Handbook, you have the Thief, Assassin, and Arcane Trickster. From Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, you have the Phantom and the Soul Knife. And from Homebrew, I pulled in some Bounty Hunter and some Gunslinger. So let's see what chat has to say. What rogue would you create? Archetype, prestige class, what rogue? Kirk, the mule idea is a good one to use to stop it from going into quarter splits, etc. Back to the half species. Part gun, part assassin, 100% edgelord. Okay, Kaz. James Spader was so good in the Blacklist. The Parable of the Farmer with Chef's Kiss. Yes. Rivers torn between Inquisitive or Mastermind. Xanthara's hands down his favorite companion book. So many great additions. I will have to fully read Xanthara's Guide to Everything. But that's just what I came up with. And a rogue River creates isn't technically a rogue at all. It's a sort who is raised by rogues, lol. So you could be an arcane trickster. Or you could be... You could be a soul knife. Or any of them, really. Yukai, I tend to just do straight rogue. Be the roguiest rogue I can be. Typically, that's what I do too, Yukai. I just like the thievy. But I'm getting into the idea of maybe branching out with my rogue characters. Maybe playing, like I said, a lawful good rogue. Who knows? Maybe the rogue that I have created for the campaign that I'm writing up in the Discord will be a lawful good rogue. But why would a lawful good rogue be in prison at the beginning of the campaign? Let's figure that out. Kirk says, was there a technician rogue? I always wanted one who was an absolute nerd concerning lockpicking, trap disarming, etc. to the point they don't realize there is fighting going on. There actually is. And I have that right here. Or I did have it. Where did it go? Let me pull it back up. Because I did have that. Rogue subclass. So, right here, the Thief subclass from the D&D Player's Handbook from 5e is the subclass for players who want to play a real rogue with all the thievery, pickpocketing, lockpicking, and backstabbing possible. It might not be the best at combat, but it embodies all the reasons why most people choose to play a rogue. That said, while the thief is is a versatile and fun rogue subclass to play, it can be a little underwhelming in combat. Getting the most out of fast hands and used magic device abilities will go a long way to helping the thief contribute when swords and arrows start flying. So the thief subclass is probably where you're going to want to be, Kurt. Robin Hood only steals from people who can afford to be robbed. Sounds like lawful good to me. Yes, he was lawful good also. Rivers says, now you want to make me roll up an inquisitive rogue who's a detective. As for why he's in jail, he's undercover. So the inquisitive rogue is actually based on, from what this is saying, it's basically a Sherlock Holmes. It gives you many bonuses to insight, perception, and investigation skills, and allows you to sense the magic that is designed to fool your senses. The only other ability you have is the ability to get a free sneak attack against a creature for a minute if your insight roll beats their deception roll. This is pretty good, but it doesn't make a whole subclass on its own. So mix the Inquisitor or Inquisitive with the Mastermind, or Inquisitive with the Thief, or even the Inquisitive with the Phantom. There's one. Phantom talks to dead people. This isn't scary or anything. They actually provide you with the skill and tool proficiencies every short or long rest. Later you gain some ghostly features like by floating through objects and being harder to hit. So there's that for you. What else do we got? Gonna give it a minute. Maybe people are writing in the chat. Psychic detective. I like it. Yes, Indiana Jones is basically a lawful good. Like he straight up kills guys to steal their stuff because it belongs in a museum. Yes, but is Indiana Jones a rogue? That's the question. He may be lawful good, and I wouldn't even say he's lawful good as much as it is chaotic good. But is he a rogue? All right, moving on. We have 2 more questions left, and then we can get into some chat. Nope, that one. Another question from River. The final 2 questions of the night are going to be from River. The question is, what do you consider to be your best, most memorable archaeological find? That's an easy question. Thank you for that, River. Back when I actually started doing archaeology field work, back in February of last year, we were doing power line transmission survey for the power company. They wanted to replace the power poles. And one of our transects, that's the line we have to stay on when we're doing our survey, out of the corner of my eye in the APE, which is the area of potential effect, I noticed something sticking out of the ground. That something was that. And after taking these photos and getting the measurements, I determined, when I got back to the hotel room doing some analysis, I determined that this vehicle that is buried in the ground here used to be a 1935 Oldsmobile F-35 touring sedan. That's my best and most memorable find because it was something that I found first. Nobody else found it. If the landowner knew it was there, he wasn't telling anybody. But that car was located in what I believe to be an old, dried up, small pond. And me being an archaeologist, an anthropologist, we have to put together a narrative of how that possibly got there. Well, the possibility that I came up with that it got there was sometime in the 30s, sometime 30s to 40s, they were driving up the hill and lost control of the vehicle. The vehicle plowed into the lake and they left it there. And no, for those who want to know, my wife says this all the time. My wife's Italian. She asks all the time. There were no dead bodies in the trunk. Mainly because I don't know that there were, mainly because we didn't excavate it. We just left it in place, which is what we typically do when it's not ours to mess with. Low windshield. Yeah. Very cool. That's awesome. Wow, that's beautiful. Kirk was going to ask. I do have other things that I have found. But that's my most memorable one. It would be cool. It would be, you know, River, if that was my land and they found it on that land, I would go and excavate it and I would go and see about trying to restore it. Because if you look at it, this is restorable. Well, technically, I mean, my 20 years in sheet metal and aviation sheet metal work, that's what I did for 20 years prior to this, was build aircraft parts and components. I mean, it's all semi-salvageable. And you could technically make it look like that again. It'd take a lot of work and a lot of money, but you could definitely make it work. So, any questions on that? I mean, it took me all of 20 minutes. Let me go back to this and I'll show you guys. It took me all of 20 minutes at the hotel to check out this back window, this round circular oval shaped back window here. It took me 20 minutes analyzing the roof shape, the structure. There's two little dots here by the door. Those are the outside hinges. But going from that to, let me find the picture, to that's all I had to work with, really. I had that window to work with, and I had the front cowl to work with when analyzing this. And I had this. And this is where you get the hinges on that B pillar right there, and the hinges on the C pillar. And there's your telltale oval-shaped window. So, that's what I had to work with. River says he means finding a body in the trunk would be cool. That said, seeing an old car like that restored to new would be excellent. Finding a body in the trunk would be cool to a degree. However, then it would not be cool because then we have to notify local authorities and get them involved, and it becomes so much more of a hassle. So finding a body anywhere, while cool sometimes, here in the States, not so much. In other countries like Italy, where I did my field school, where we did uncover 3 sets of human remains, dating 2nd to 7th century AD. Very cool. Here in the States, doing that, not so cool. It's got material for the roof. With money like that, with money that could happen. People restore things with a little, but a number plate remaining. Yes, I have one of those vehicles in the backyard. I have a 1955 Chevy 210 4-door sedan that I'm currently restoring. I also have a 66 Chevy Stepside that I'm resto-modding, but those are topics for another day. Frame around the CD window, yet. Jimmy Hoffa, unfortunately, Ron, my wife won't tell me where Jimmy Hoffa's buried. I did tell you my wife is Italian, but she won't tell me where Jimmy Hoffa's buried. So that's a non-starter. What else we got? Let's look up here. By the way, if you see all the people in blue, I figured out how to make people mods. Would you still need to tell the police if the remains were that old? How old are we talking? 2nd to 7th century BC or AD or 1935? Because here in the States, any remains, yes, have to contact the police. And if the remains are found on tribal land, have to contact the tribal THPOs. And THPO, THPO, stands for Tribal Historic Preservation Office. So yes, lots of people need to be involved when finding remains here in the United States. Finding remains overseas, they don't have laws like we do. They don't have laws like NAGPRA. They don't have laws like ARPA. They have none of that. They have guidelines, but they don't have the same human remains laws that we do. Oh, Jimmy's not under Giant Stadium. They've already proven that fact, Chris. Cats, while that is true in most situations, depending on where the remains are buried, if you can date a structure around the remains that is also being excavated to about the same time frame, if the remains are found at the same depth, then it's really easy to say, hey, these remains are from about this time period. Other than that, there's nothing that you can utilize to for what we call diagnostic purposes. If there's nothing diagnostic around that you can date, then yes, without a full radiocarbon dating of the remains, it's difficult to date those remains. Moving on, we have 7 minutes. Wow, tonight's going by fast, guys. Let's move on. So the final question for the night, before we move into chat and talk about what's going on this weekend, is from River. What ancient civilization would you like to study, do a dig for, if you had the ability to? And I'm glad you asked me this question, River, because I'm a history guy. I love history. I love studying new things. And one of the things that I studied while I was in my master's degree program was the Akkadian Empire. Now, the Akkadian Empire is widely considered to be the first civilization in Mesopotamia. Unfortunately, while this is an easy question to answer as to what civilization I would want to dig up, you notice where the civilization is. The civilization, the green area, is the Akkadian Empire. Now, with that being said, that is currently in modern-day Iraq. Now, while I would go back to modern-day Iraq, while I was there the first time, I was flying over and driving through northern Iraq when they were excavating portions of what they might be Babylon, which is within the ancient Akkadian Empire. It's kind of not so good for a person of my complexion right now over there in Iraq. So that's where I would go. That's what I would do. Let's see. Of course, context clues, but I'm talking about for a lemon that stumbled across a body. Yes. Oh, not the old one. They put him in the new one. Nobody would look there. Oh, the new Giant Stadium? Probably. Kirk says his neighborhood was built around the time of Hoffa's disappearance. Whenever anyone does a rebuild of any sort, the topic of him maybe being around here comes up. That's possible. I don't know. I don't know. But it's always up there. I think you said you're from Delaware, Kirk. I could be wrong. Katz wants to dig up Atlantis, just because of the mix of potential historical documentation and myth that surrounds it. So, let me get back to you, Katz, in the Discord, because I have something that I think you would like to watch on Atlantis. They think it's in southern Spain, and there is evidence to support that, but there's needs to be more research about it. So, favorite line from Kunk on Earth: "It's hard to believe I'm walking through the ruins of the first ever city, because I'm not. That's in Iraq, which is miles away and fucking dangerous." Yes. Yes. And Kirk's from Maryland. Sorry about that, Kirk. I thought you were from BW. Well, that brings us to Chat, guys. We absolutely blazed through this episode. So what does everybody want to talk about? First thing, let's do this. Just chat. And as always, if it's your first time on board, we always like to start off with good things of the week. So what would we like to talk about? What's good things for the week? Puffy Cheetah would like to dig up anywhere there would be Viking presence in the U.S. Probably Canada. If we're going potentially mythical places, then I want to dig up Rylea. I don't know Rylea, but you'll probably tell me about it more in the Discord. Dope. I love historical vids like that. I'm glad you do. And if you like learning about the history of China, there's a 3-episode special season 1 on Disney Channel as part of Disney's Discovery or National Geographic ownership. It's called Ancient China from Above. They use drone technology and 3D imagery and computer generated wire scale models or wire scan models to look at Genghis Khan and Kublai Khan's cities and stuff like that, and they go through other historical places within China. Great. So it's with Dr. Alan Maka, first season. I haven't watched the second season yet, but I do want to. We aren't close enough to be likely off a resting spot, but that doesn't stop people from speculating. Kirk, you know what? This is what I always wondered. Hoffa was last seen outside of a diner or something in Michigan. Why would they transport him back from Michigan back to New York just to bury him once he killed him? I think he's somewhere in Michigan. I don't think he's in New York. But again, that's a topic for another discussion. Good things of the week. Well, let's go Puffy Cheeto. The football gods are against me. Texas is losing the Cotton Bowl by 14 with only 2 minutes left. Look, the CFP this year is one of the craziest things that has ever happened, in my opinion. You have the number 3 seeded team, Ohio State, is going to play the number 8 seeded team, or the number 7 seeded team of Notre Dame. That's out there. I mean, that's freaking phenomenal in my opinion. Granted, I would like Notre Dame to win. I'm not a strict Notre Dame fan, but if it comes down to Notre Dame or Ohio State, then it's definitely Notre Dame all the way. Katz's good things of the week. Got some snow and taking my son sledding tomorrow. That's great. We got some snow here too. We got about 3 to 4 inches of snow. They said it was going to be melted today and be gone tomorrow, but it's still up today. My dog absolutely loves snow. And if you don't know who my dog is, look in the Discord and the friends in the Familiars tab, and my dog is the white Louisiana Catahoula Leopard. Puffy Cheeto, good thing of the week. Husband's birthday was Wednesday. He's getting old. LMAO. Wish him a happy birthday from me, Puffy, please. I wish all you guys well. River says there's a sunken city where Cthulhu sleeps. Oh, that's Relia. Chris, good thing of the week. Converted our second bathroom into his craft room. Same size as the old ship, but now we have climate control. That's awesome. I took over the spare bedroom after the kids moved out, so it's always good to have a place to do your work. Good thing for the week for me is Wednesday I took 7 hours, and I mentioned this in the Discord. I took 7 hours and dropped a transmission out of the 2008 Envoy that I apparently had burnt up 3 and 4 clutch packs in of it, and reinstalled a new transmission. Yay me, and it only took 7 hours. And like I said in the Discord, that's 1 hour less than a long rest. So, if you have a rogue artificer in your campaign party, and something goes wrong with the wagon, and it's going to take a full long rest, let me work it. It'll be done for you guys to mosey on down the road after your guys' long rest. Just let me rest while we're moving. That's all I ask. River's good things for the week is solidified plans with some good friends to come over for dinner soon. Gonna make homemade meatballs and sauce and roasted garlic bread. Now, River, does it take you 3 days to make your sauce? Because it takes my wife 3 days to make her spaghetti sauce, and she uses an old Italian family recipe that's not even written down. So, I hope that your sauce is good, and there's no mistakes in sauce. I mean, you can't over-season it, but typically it's how you like it. So make it your own. Kirk went sledding. Her roads were their roads were nice and icy for one night. Great for my old runner sled. Now, if people don't know, people aren't in the Discord. People wouldn't know this. River posted a video of him sledding. His graybeard soul sledding on a 30-plus-year-old sled. I'm surprised that sled didn't break. But it's probably been well-maintained, so I'll give him that. His only complaint was the kids in the neighborhood weren't out doing the same thing that he was doing. Car fixing restoration going to have to be some future episodes. Okay. I will take that into advisement, Kirk. Thanks for that. We can do that. We can definitely do that. I just have to clear out the workshop and everything to showcase some things that I have done. Picks will need to follow. Yes, Puffy. As a matter of fact, River, I'm gonna need you to post those pics into Long Rest Camp Food. So, and if you don't know what Long Rest Camp Food is, it's a tab on the Discord. Join the Discord. Sauces made during sauce season. Ruby. Yes, my wife will not make sauce just willy-nilly anytime. She has to be in the mood for sauce. And she doesn't even eat her sauce. So, she has to be in the mood to make it for me. If you count the stock, it takes days. I count the stock. Nope, I count the stock. But has River invited us over? I don't think River invites many people over, but I do hope that at some point in time, if we are in the neighborhood, I do hope that River would reach out to myself or any of his close friends here in the chat group for some river food. Car talk is fine. Picks of workshop not needed, especially if cleaning up slows your process. So, Kirk, it doesn't slow the process. It's just I haven't done any work on the 66. The 66 is currently sitting in the shop. But I haven't done any work on the 66 in about 3 or 4 years. The 55 is actually sitting outside underneath a tarp. Haven't done any work on that about the same time frame. Only because, like I said, 20 years I was working on airframes, helicopters, airplanes. making sheet metal and composite parts, fabricating them, working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. Didn't really have time for it. Now that I'm on this archaeology path, and more specifically, now that I'm 100% disabled from the VA, I can take time off of archaeology jobs and do the things that I want to do around the house. So, that being said, those are going to get some more work done to them here in the near future. River posted another link to the Discord. Kids these days don't know the terror of sledding down an icy hill in a frozen pond, listening to ice crack. You know what, Ron? Here's something for you. 41 years old. This pirate is 41 years old. I've never been sledding. Never. I don't typically live anywhere long enough above a certain point in the United States where it gets that cold that it freezes lakes and you can go sledding. So I'm a southern guy. I like my beaches and I like my boats, and I don't like snow so much. So River be taking pictures of everything in Discord. Ruby's best friend is Italian, and we do canning together for base sauce in August yearly. Yes, Kirk. Never been sledding. Yes, Ron. Never been sledding. Yes, Kaz. Never been sledding. But have you guys ever been on a 3-masted sailing ship? Being pirates in the Caribbean? Dirt sledding into unfrozen water, not as much fun. Well, that's okay. So I have been mudding, but not sledding. And by mudding, I mean we were in an 88 Dodge Ram pickup truck on 44-inch Super Swampers. And yeah. So Ron will be 59 by next Friday. Then we'll celebrate Ron's birthday on next Friday's show. And Kirk's only been on one masted ship. Chris has grew up in SoCal. Think he's seen snow 6, maybe 7 times. Another slow there. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Katz has sailed a single mast 2-man ship. That count? I mean, Captain Jack Sparrow had a single man 1-mast little dinghy boat in the beginning of Curse of the Black Pearl. So I guess, did the boat sink though? Puffy Cheeto's never been sledding. We get tall ships in Toronto. Been on some tall ships, but only at the pier. Happy early birthday, Ron. Yes, yes, yes. Well wishes to the happy birthday, or to the Ron. Happy birthday. Well, everybody, it's come to that time of the show. It's 10:08. Our boat was the only one to successfully navigate. The rest needed towed back to port. Let me, Kaz, were you part of the Red Bull Fluke Plots thing? Because that would be cool too. Has anyone ever jumped into a Dust Devil? Yes. A Dust Devil in Iraq? That counts. Has anybody ever been involved in a sandstorm? Been involved in a few of those. But it has come to that time. This episode did fly by. And yes, flute tag. And at the end of the episode, I would like to mention to everybody that questions can be sent to roguebardadvice@gmail.com. Preferably earlier in the week, as that'll give me time to write out some answers and think of things. You can also donate to the pod. Donate. You don't have to. I'm not asking, but if you would like to support the channel monetarily and build our following, these are the places you can support: PayPal, Cashapp, and Venmo. The links are in the description below. And with that, join the Discord, like and support share, support the pod. turn on those notifications so you can know when the podcast is going live, or join the Discord. We got the ping cord going up, and it tells you when I'm going live. Other than that, y'all have a nice weekend. Have a great weekend. And I cannot end the pod without saying that I believe Tampa Bay has a shot at getting into the Super Bowl, because the next 3 teams that we play will be the Washington Commanders, the Eagles, and the Lions. And we've already beaten all 3 teams in the regular season. So, with that, I think it's Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. Y'all have a nice one. I am the Pirate Archaeologist, and we will do this again. Same rogue time, same rogue channel next Friday.